Reid.
I think there is a certain irony that we're discussing this report in the week in which the Grenfell Tower inquiry opened with the horrific loss of life in that appalling fire. And I don't think it's any exaggeration to say that we are incredibly lucky that something similar hasn't happened here, because all of the same features exist in my own area in Holywell, in Swords in 2007, fire spreading rapidly through cavity walls, destroying units in under 6 units in under half an hour. Had that fire taken place at the night time when people were asleep, undoubtedly we would have had casualties. We had the scenario in Millfield, in Newbridge and so on, and it's only as a result of these catastrophic problems coming to the fore and an opening up of some of the properties after that, that we've revealed massive non-compliance in a whole number of areas in Fingal, South Dublin, Dunleary, Rathdown, Louth County Council, Kildare County Council, Cork County Council, and undoubtedly every county council that hasn't yet been touched by this. In the area in Holywell, breaches of building regulations, fire and safety, examined 22 homes, found poor workmanship, breaches of fire safety and other regulations, and yet the developer, Albany Homes, said, "Wasn't me, or nothing to do with me," blamed the local authority, shrugged his shoulders and denied that he'd ever received the report, and did nothing to rectify the works. I think if we look at the department's long-awaited report into the fire at Millfield, which I have to say I thought was very weak, also revealed, however, deficiencies that affected the spread of fire, poor workmanship, improper jointing of plasterboard to separating walls within the attic space, fire stopping missing at the top of the separating walls, cavity closers missing at the top of the external walls, and penetration of separating walls within the attic with the roof timbers. And these aren't isolated examples, and I think the Minister needs to be, I suppose, proactive in terms of establishing the extent of these legacy issues, because it's only by tragedy that some of the issues that we're aware of has emerged. And we have to ask ourselves, why is that the case? And I think it has been touched on by the report, and I welcome the report. But we look at redress schemes that have been in there, and you look at examples such as the pyrite remediation. Why is that there? It should never have been there. The state was culpable in not having a proper system of checks at the quarries. It was improper in its actions and had to take some of the responsibility in that regard. But we have a scheme in place because residents had to go out and fight for it, and in fairness, the late Shane McEntee was absolutely instrumental in delivering that scheme. But that scheme is not fit for purpose anymore. It needs to be changed, and the Minister is well aware of it. Well aware of it. The defects in that scheme have been flagged, and we have the scenario where householders are buckling under the pressure of these damages to their property, which is of no fault of their own. I think the root of this is the lack of proper inspection. We know the decision by Fianna Fáil in 1990 to abolish independent building control inspections by local authorities and allowing self-certification has been a disaster. Fair enough. But I don't agree, actually, that the control regulations of 2014 have solved anything, and I think the report has been quite good, actually, in highlighting some of the weaknesses in that. Those regulations didn't go far enough to tackle non-compliance. Does absolutely nothing to provide the purchaser of our house with confirmation that the builder was or is competent. It does nothing to improve the performance of contractors, and nothing to improve standards of workmanship. All it does is identify, actually, someone who you can potentially sue later down the road if your life is falling apart because you've bought a property that is buckling in that regard. And I think the assigned certificate is very problematic. You know, what we need to return to, and I do welcome a lot of what's in the report, is a public inspection system. If we look at what needs to be had, there is a point to be said that the local authorities really haven't got maybe the clout and the muscle to carry out that function anymore, that they've been so undermined. But some format or some arena carrying out independent public building control that gives robust powers to an inspector who has no conflict of interest, unlike the present assigned certifier who is paid for by the developer, someone who should have access to a site at any stage during construction to carry out any inspection deemed necessary, particularly regarding fire prevention and fire retardation materials, as well as foundations, drainage, plumbing and so on. The inspector has to have the power to stop work that is non-compliant, to be able to order the taking down of a building that's not complied with regulations. That's a system that requires the employment of skilled and experienced tradespeople by the local authorities or another public body to empower a public inspector. And if we don't do this, we will have the re-emergence of the problems that everybody is conning about now, and the absolute appalling vista that the victims have to pay for the damage that's been done. Absolutely disgraceful.
Thank you.